to the LEC post-game lobby. I'm Laure, joined by Troubleinc and Caps. How are you, Caps?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It was a good series, and we are back with our series against Fnatic now. So
Yeah,
good.
back-to-back 3-0s in the lower bracket for you so far. Did you expect the series against Misfits today to be so swift and quick?
I mean, we were for sure confident going into the series, but we also had 2 good games in the regular season where they ended up being super close because we were a bit too confident. So we were trying our best to not throw too much. And in game 1, we did actually end up throwing a lot, but we didn't throw enough that it actually ended up costing us the game.
I was about to say game 1 especially was not a Mr. Clean game, as Dylan Falco likes to say.
Have any games been in the regular season versus Misfits, let's be honest?
Yeah, true. But how did you adjust gameplay and your attitude maybe going forward in the next games?
I mean, I think we just kind of had the same mindset, right? We knew that they're a team that is really, really good at front behind, and they're a team that will always fight till the very end. So we can definitely not count them out. And I think game 2 and 3, we were very aware of their plays, and we were kind of very good at calling out their timings, which made it a lot easier to not get overconfident and not just throw a 1v2 or 2v3 fights.
I honestly found really impressive the way you guys played the very early game. I'm talking first minutes of the game were so instrumental. In first game, where it was Jankos coming mid, getting the summoners, you capitalize on that. Jankos going top, there's no summoners, you capitalize on that. You turn it into Herald, game is over from there on out. It was super smooth. Then second game, you play towards bot side, you're on bot, take summoners, Tagamas runs top, then you run bot straight again. 5 minutes and 40, and the game had already double killed bot side. Is this something that you come into the game with a plan, or do you just come up with it the second you go in?
I mean, it's a bit of a mix. I mean, of course, we talk about certain situations, and sometimes we try to replicate the same kind of draft so that we can get the same early games. But other times it's just kind of on the fly. It kind of just depends on the draft itself. But I definitely think that Jankos and Tagamas were playing really well. They were roaming around the map. As you mentioned, they were always helping me out, and I know they also helped FLICKR and BB out a lot. So they were doing really well this series.
A couple words on Misfits though, because Georgia talked about it, and Dylan was mentioning that maybe their style and the one they had in the regular season would reach its limits, especially in playoffs. Did you think so too, and especially in the sense of shutting down VTO should be the key to beat them?
I mean, I definitely think, as I mentioned, I definitely felt confident going against them, and I definitely felt they had their flaws. But then again, I did the same in regular season.
Yeah.
So I was not expecting them to be nowhere as good as they ended up being in regular season. So when I was expecting them not to be insane in playoffs, I was also in the back of my mind, I was but I did say the same in regular season. So.
Yeah, give you a bit of headaches maybe in the regular season with the base races and everything. But focusing more on G2, we saw some improvements, especially in your ability to play throughout many pressure points on the map. The bot lane becoming one, especially against Vitality. What do you make of the improvements for the G2 lineup overall in playoffs compared to regular season?
I think so. I think the annoying thing with best of ones is that we don't get to show as much, I guess. So we don't get to show as many styles. And it was something I also mentioned, I think, before we played Fnatic in the hype video, that we actually have been playing a lot around our bot. But it's just in BO1s, the draft just turned out to be that way, that we maybe helped out top more than normal. But now going into playoffs, FLICKR is for sure getting a lot of games where he gets to shine, and Tagamas is enabled to run around the map. So I'm just happy that we get to BO5s. I'm happy that especially we get the second chance, because if we had lost out of Fnatic, that would have sucked. But we get another chance. We get to kind of get comfortable with playing on stage, and I think it's really showing as well.
You'll have fans next week, but we'll get to that later.
Caps, you are so respectful, and you talk very highly of, Tagamas roaming, helping you out, Jankos, Broken Blade playing well, FLICKR playing well. Let's turn it back to you, since you are here with us and you had a fantastic series as well. I've heard there's a lot of, not necessarily criticism, but there's a buzz around where is the explosive Caps? We want the Akali Caps, the LeBlanc Caps, the one that will run behind the game. And a lot of the times the story is that when you build in a new team and you roster and the only ones left behind is you and Jankos, you have to sort of reinvent how you want to play the game. So what do you have to say about your place and how that has changed now that 3 new members have joined the team?
So, I mean, there's a lot of minor things that change, and there's a lot of things in terms of communication that I have to change. And of course, playing with new players, they will have different views on the game. So I have kind of tried to adapt my best to that. But I think as a team, we're quite on the same page, and we have a pretty good idea of what we want to do. And I'm really happy with, as I mentioned, Tagamas and Jankos. I feel like they really enabled me to also help side lanes out. We managed to get a lot of heralds. We managed to get a lot of drakes. We managed to get like early ganks down bot lane and stuff like this. We got a bunch of like good stuff, and I'm just hoping that we can continue that for the next two BO5s.
A couple words on Jankos here, maybe, because he got the Kia Player of the Series today. It was a close race, honestly, between all three, but he comes out on top with 39% of the votes. And Caps, you've been playing with Jankos for years now. How did you refine your playstyle together, especially including these rookies, as Georgia mentioned?
So I think it's always easy to talk with, play with Jankos because he talks a lot. Like you can see on stream
we hear that too.
Yeah, he talks a lot, and he talks also very, very loud. So you will always hear his opinions, and it's very easy to like adapt to his opinions, or it's very easy to understand how he thinks because he's saying how he thinks. So that makes it very easy to play with him. I think I can always like either adapt or I can try to get him like my view of things. And then of course, if he agrees with it or understands it, then we adapt to that. But basically, it's nice playing with Jankos. I've enjoyed the last few years. I'm hoping we can enjoy some more.
We hope to see you two a lot more years together because you guys seem to be getting along really well. And also, like, the synergy shows when the compositions come through, right? The Karma, Hecarim, where one trusts the other to carry, you know, putting caps on something that's more of a facilitator rather than the carry. Then the LeBlanc comes through, you know, maybe the Lissandra Viego. I just love to see the adaptation between them two because clearly they're the two veterans in the team. And the fact that they facilitate for each other shows also how well bonded they are together.
Yeah, and this is impressive also the way they adapt with Traja, regardless of the lineups and the players playing with them, they know how to find their place. Another topic I want to mention though, because obviously a team winning means another one has to go home. Yep. This is the end of the season for Misfits here. We'll see them back in summer. But Trouble, do you think they exceeded the expectations we had towards the team, reaching it this far? And I mean, we had this discussion about maybe them reaching their limits in playoffs, but what do you make of their run?
I would say that seeing Misfits bring in Zlatan, Mercer, rookies from the ERLs that, don't get me wrong, they've done fantastically in the ERLs, but of course the transition from playing against other rookies in ERLs and then coming into the LEC, facing all the veterans, I think is a huge change. And the fact that they managed to reach that far into playoffs and fall into a formidable opponent like G2 was, where they just 3-0 pretty much everyone so far, I think it's a pretty good run to have if you're Misfits. And the only thing you can look forward to is more development towards summer.
Caps, what do you think? Can we see more from Misfits this summer, given what we see from them here?
I think so. I mean, I think a lot of the players are newer, right? And I think, I mean, I just don't want to underrate them again because I feel like that's how I felt like going into spring, and they just showed up. Even last year they were showing up, but I felt like maybe after Razak leaves and the team is changing, maybe they will not. But they managed to show up again, and it looks like they want to be a team that is staying around the top. You know, maybe not at the very top, but they're at least fighting to get there.
On the topic of staying on the top, I remember that at the beginning of the season, you said that you needed to get on your formal level to reclaim the right to be called Caps with a capital C. So I want to know, do you feel worthy of the capital C now?
I mean, I think playoffs is like the most important, right? And I think so far we've had. Like, I think like we're starting to get in a good spot, and I feel like I'm getting a lot more comfortable, but there's definitely still a lot of improvements to be made. And I think when we come in next week, that is where I guess we will get tested. The real test begins. And hopefully we can show off well, and hopefully we can go to MSI, and hopefully then I can reclaim it.
Okay. I love how you segued you into the next topic by talking about next week.
Yeah, I mean, you're making my job easier, guys. Thank you so much on that. You mentioned next week, of course, you're going to face off against Fnatic. Last time, 3-1 for them. But you're a different beast now, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the series we played against them last time was just very, very bad for us. We showed like, I mean, I don't know if it's nerves. Obviously, it was our first BO5 as a team, but it didn't really feel like how we usually play. We were also not super. We were just not quite on like the right page, I feel like. But I think the last week of scrims and our stage showing as well is a lot better. As I mentioned, there still has some things to be improved on, but it always will have. And I definitely feel quite comfortable going up against Fnatic. I think they had kind of like an unfortunate series yesterday. And I think a lot of the tricks that Rogue used against Fnatic, we can look to use as well.
Something I want to have your mind on. You also said that Fnatic may have some weaknesses that opponents don't often think about. Could you maybe elaborate on that? without giving too much. I know you
Yeah,
want to keep the secrets.
I don't want to point out too much of what we want to like exactly abuse against them, but I do think that I think they have like a very one-dimensional team. I think it's fair to say, and I think for us, a lot of people would say that we're a very one-dimensional team in terms of like we're playing a lot around top and we're relying a lot on BB. I think throughout the regular season, but I feel like in playoffs we've shown that other people can step up as well, especially with our bot lane being such a big threat as they have been the last series. I'm sure they'll show up big time against Fnatic.
Any expectations, Trouble, maybe coming to this matchup?
I love that. I think he summed up everything because I have thought that Fnatic have been a one-dimensional team. Like the bot lane has been so freaking strong. And the second they swap the focus to the top side of the map, they just drop 3 games back to Rogue, right? And honestly, if I was Fnatic and I saw G2 3-0 back-to-back waiting for me in the semi-finals, I would actually be a little bit scared.
It honestly sounds scary, yeah, given that you also got more stage time and stage presence. And talking about the game you played against Vitality, on Friday, there's been a Hextech Dragon Steel versus Vitality, and you secured the soul, actually, in the MasterCard Play of the Week, Caps. Did you expect to make that steal?
We went for it, right? Because we were a bit late on the Drake. So I just, went and hoped for the best. Worst case, we can maybe look for a good fight. But we kind of got the Drake, so we didn't need to commit anything because we already got the what we came for, essentially. But it was a really tough game, and we relied on like a lot of mistakes from our opponents, and also like some steals on Drake. We got a Baron steal from Jankos as well. So just a lot of like I don't know if it's like lucky play or like maybe low chance plays, but if you put all them together, then it gives a good comeback.
I think all in all it was a steal of the W away from Vitality.
Were you talking about Vitality also? Were you surprised by anything so far in playoffs, and especially in round 2? When it comes to teams, their performance versus expectations?
I think playoffs went kind of as expected. I actually thought that maybe XL would win, but it ended up being a really close series. Of course, I thought that we would win against Fnatic as well. But as I mentioned, I feel like that series was very poor from us compared to how we usually play. And I think everything else actually kind of went as expected. Of course, I didn't know exact drafts. Like, for example, the game yesterday ended up being super close and ended up being a reverse sweep. But I kind of had Rogue as like the victors, I think.
All right. Well, and you were mentioning MSI earlier also. I was talking about T1 in Reddit check because they're the first team to qualify to MSI, actually. And I remember the days, well, you arrived in the LCS back then. You were called Baby FLICKR, and I remember that FLICKR represents a lot to you and is a big inspiration for you. What's your take on his achievements and the fact that he keeps on breaking records and still stay on the top after all these years?
I mean, it's crazy. It's for sure a huge inspiration. He's done so well, and he also got his first 18-0 split, something I would love to get one day. But definitely just like hope I go to MSI, hope I get to meet him. We were supposed to play each other actually season 10 MSI, I believe, but it got cancelled. So I'm hoping that we can get like a revenge now and get to prove that we're the real deal. And again, the first step of like rebuilding G2 was to get back our LEC trophy. But then, of course, the next step is also showing up on an international stage, which is what we did before, right? And we just take it one day at a time, one step at a time.
Can it be the year of EU? I don't know. That's a story for another day, another month, maybe. T1 looks super strong right now. That's all I can say for now. Well, Caps, thank you for joining us today. That was a really cool PGL. We're going to take a selfie, as it is tradition here. I'll just drop the mic for a sec. And I'm usually super bad at taking pictures, so I'm going to focus my best because last time I had Perks and he was closing his eyes, so eyes open, please. Help me.
Eyes open. Make sure.
Yay,
perfect.
Thank you. Caps, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you also for joining me today. And that's all for us this weekend, but we'll be back next Saturday with a new chapter in the Fnatic G2 rivalry, followed by the grand finals on Sunday. Until then, LCS Spring Playoffs continues tonight with Team Liquid facing Evil Geniuses. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.
When does TSM play?
Next split.
Thanks.
Welcome back, everyone, on to Berlin, Germany, home of the LEC, and the final best of 5 of this LEC weekend. We're going to see Misfits and G2 Esports battle it out for a spot in the top 3 and a clash against Fnatic next Saturday.
Jankos is on the top side.
Wow. The flash forward from Caps. The chains will land. Flag and Dragon interrupted by the fear, and VTO does get popped under the tower. There's Broken Blade looking for the engage. Is caught out with the Zenith Blade himself.
Oh!
Blown up before he
The dragon!
The dragon is going low. And it's stolen. It's been picked up. 3 members of G2 on the retreat. The shadow surge forward. Jankos is in trouble as the hostile takeover delay.
You saw it on the desk, 3-0 predictions across the board. Everyone seems to think that G2 just naturally have this series in the bag already. I mean, they 3-0'd Vitality pretty convincingly.
Who will face off against Fnatic on Saturday, and whose title dreams will crash and burn? Let's find out as Misfit Gaming takes on G2 Esports.
And from Jankos puts him underneath the tower for at least 1 shot. And finally, Misfits reckon they've got a time. They find 1, looking for more.
Oh,
and
VTO.
all of a sudden, Broken Blade's running for his life. Jankos is so incredibly low. Jankos stays alive just a couple seconds longer. And finally, Misfits punish G2.
Jankos is starting up the dragon. Everyone's kind of split around the side. They're going in now, though.
That's the engage. Cataclysm into the ultimatum, knocking out members of Misfits. Neon is down, and so is Schlatan. Here comes VTO. Where's he going to hijack? Schlatan's got that Heartbreaker available to him. Pitchfine Gaze is used, and the onslaught of Shadows was stolen away. Greyhound by so much time. Schlatan's taken out. It's a great sidestep from Herod. Glacial path forward into the flash. W! Caps locks up Neon. The kills are secured. It is at the cost of his life, but beautiful catch from Caps. G2 have obliterated Misfits today, and they're styling on them. It has been one-sided all day long.
This was a clean best of 5. This was a clinical best of 5, and this was a decisive best of 5.